In this video, I share my journey of struggling to draw faces from imagination. And I also share the three incredible lessons that emerged from my failures. So, whether you're an aspiring artist or just curious about the creative process, these three revelations might just blow your mind. So, join me as I explore each lesson and how it can impact your own artistic journey. Hi, I am Vincent, and for the past 3.5 years, almost to 4 years now, I've been sharing my art journey on this channel, learning how to draw. In the last video where we left off, I challenged myself to be well on the way with the final project for the Fox Tom Fox Draws course that I'm currently taking, and I wanted to be able to already draw characters from imagination with faces and be able to close them. It was ambitious, probably too ambitious, and I failed. I did make progress though in drawing faces from imagination. That's kind of what you're seeing on this page here. And yeah, I am celebrating that, and I am not disappointed or frustrated in my failure. And I could easily just create a video that said, hey, here are some tips for drawing faces from imagination and take you through all of the things that I have done to get to this point. But I thought I would do something else because there are many persons who are not making progress and think that they are alone, they're getting frustrated, they're feeling like giving up, especially when all of the videos that are coming out are just so intent on showing success videos, right? And successes. So even though I didn't achieve exactly what I achieved, I still put out a video that says, hey, look at the progress I made, right? And it kind of gives the wrong idea that no one else is struggling and it's just them. They're the only ones going through this progress process. But I'm going to share three things with you, and this, for those of you who haven't been following me for a while, this might actually blow your mind a bit in terms of some of the things I share here. And for this first one, I'm going to have to go back a few years and I'm going to show you something. So I went and dug into the archives, found some of my pages, and I am going to, one second, I have an entire basket here of old drawings and pages that I did from very early on. And some of you may not know this, but I actually did the Proco portrait drawing course earlier on. Okay, so let me, I'm going to show you some things here. These are some drawings that I actually did. This is back in 2001. Okay? All right? So yes, I can draw faces. I can draw faces, okay? Not bad, right? I can draw skulls. I've done skull studies and stuff like that. You know? I have gone through the entire Proco course. There are a bunch of pages here. We went through skulls. We've gone through here features. So we have ears. I mean, look at that. All right. Nose, eyes. We've gone through all these things, doing all the construction methods and stuff like that. I've gone through all of the Loomis head studies, drawing these from different angles. This is number 54, by the way. I did multiple of these, right? Like, I'm not new to drawing heads and faces. I'm not new to this. And yet, let me pack these away. And yet, I still struggle when it comes to drawing heads from imagination. So, what is happening sometimes is that, well, there are several things happening here. One, drawing from reference and that type of drawing takes multiple days. So, let's, if I was to go back to this sheet here, if you notice, there are a lot of different dates on this paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 11 days. 11 different days. I spent probably multiple hours on these days working on this drawing, continuing to measure, trying to make sure everything is exactly right, exactly proportioned, taking my time shading. This takes a lot of work, and really why I stopped doing this type of work is because I never really liked the process, right? It caused me quite a bit of frustration going through this, and it really didn't feel like what I wanted to do, right? So I don't do many or any of these anymore. But doing this is totally different, a different skill than drawing faces from imagination. And you need to know that even though I am going to show you what I went through to get to this point, right? I'm gonna go through and show you what I did to get to this point where I can now do a whole sheet of mostly my own character heads. Just know that what I show you in this video isn't the entire story, right? I've been studying heads for a while, and there are a lot of things that I've learned, but number one thing to know, the number one lesson you need to know from this is that you are rarely hearing and seeing the entire story. So, although I still struggle with drawing heads, what I did back here and in all the years since this is also influencing my progress that I am able to make now. If you're new to drawing, you cannot expect to do just the amount of work that I did in the last 2 weeks and get to this level. Now you may be one of those persons that are art geniuses and catch on to everything really quickly and make a breakthrough. But for the majority of you, it may not be the case, right? So be careful of where you're setting your expectations, because a lot of the stories you hear from YouTubers, even like me, we are not able to tell the entire story all the time. And there's a lot informing the current progress we're able to make. And we still struggle despite having gone through a lot of formal processing and having made beautiful pictures or have the ability to make beautiful pictures. There is still a struggle that we go through all the time. Again, if there is one thing I want you to take away from this first point, is that whatever struggle you're going through right now, you are not unique in it. And for somebody like me who's been at this for years, I've drawn great faces before. I mean, like, I know those look great. And to still struggle, it can be frustrating. But if you change your mindset, something that I always talk about on this channel, you don't have to experience that frustration. If you really realize the reality of what's going on and that everyone is struggling, and that, yeah, you can just post your best stuff. We understand that. But everybody, and I'm going to show you some strange things that happen in here as well once I get to that. All right, so that's step one. Realize that everybody is struggling. You are rarely getting the entire story, and there is normally a lot of back work that goes into the current progress or the current ability to do what you see people currently doing. They're not just picking up the pencil and doing it overnight, and you just happen to not be getting it, All right. There's a lot going on there that you're not seeing. And that's just a stack of papers. I started out with papers. I have a ton of sketchbooks I can bring out with also some really crazy drawings, all right? But that would be too long for this video. But just know there's a lot that you're not seeing. Okay. All right. So, lesson number 2, and it's related to this whole thing and also those drawings, is that just because you draw it once doesn't mean you have learned it. All right? I really want you to remember this, because even when you're going through, we talked about doing lessons and stuff like that and how to get the most out of them, and you have assignments. Normally you have some people who just do one assignment and it may turn out okay and you go, oh, yep, I got it. I can move on now. No, just because you did something once doesn't mean you've got it. And I'm going to browse through here real quick to show you the amount of repetitions that I'm doing to try different things. And some of them are turning out good, and then you change it up and okay, I don't have it anymore. So these are some of the things I've been doing. I started out with following a video from Cynics Design. He took me through all these steps. Again, I'm drawing a ton of different variations of the things, of the few examples he gave. So he took me through one, doing the fulls, seeing the face as this kind of curved surface, putting some kind of very simplified features on them, getting more to full planes and all of that. All right. And again, doing some of them, trying to reference some of them working out really well. And then even though you have some that turn out well, that doesn't mean you have it down, right? So I started doing some initial drawings over here, and some of them worked out, some of them not so much. And you really need to know that just because you did it doesn't mean you got it, right? So look at what happened here. what happened here? That's like everything went off the rails, right? Yeah, that still happens. So, I mean, yeah, trying to get some of these to work, not working out quite right, it happens. So you keep on working, you keep on trying different things. This one was going sideways. I just left it alone. I don't know what's even going on there. And then even this. So I figured out, hey, okay, I have some real issues with drawing nose and mouth or lips, right? And so I tried to incorporate some of that, going back to the structure of the nose, trying to get it drawn in from different angles. And, sometimes even though you draw it once, that doesn't mean everything will turn out good from that point on. And yeah, I'm kind of scratching my head here in the corner going, oh yeah, I just can't get this to work consistently. So basically you can see trying a bunch of different things. I drew this one over here and I go, oh wow, that is exactly how I want it to look. Look at some of these. What's going on here? What's going on here? Okay. But eventually you kind of come around, but even then, some of them don't quite turn out like you want to. Like I thought this one was going pretty good until I did it. And then, so again, repetition, taking your time to do it. Just because you draw it once doesn't mean you have it. Take the time to go again and again and again and again and again, and try different angles, try to do the thing that you always want to do. Even here, there's a setup that he teaches for drawing in perspective. I tested out some of it here. Pretty sure there's some other places I drew it as well. but doing it again here, 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 and kind of prepping myself. Do I really understand how to set this up? What are the mistakes I'm making if I change it into a slightly higher horizon, a lower horizon? What if I try to set up the scene in this way? Do I actually understand what's going on? I'm kind of testing myself um, in each one of these scenarios, trying to do something a little different and see if I can still make it work, right? Because again, this is really what I want to do long term, and I want to make sure I am really learning and not just assuming that I know it just because I did it once and it turned out good. Okay, I'm good forever. I don't need to do any more practice, right? No. Just because you learned it once doesn't mean just because you did it once doesn't mean you've learned it forever, right? You have to work on it a bit. Now, the last thing I'm going to share is one of the things that I really caught myself doing quite a bit. All right. And I probably should have pulled over some of my sketchbooks, but it it stems again from this long time period that I have been drawing, and I still haven't got the faces quite down. And I found out what I was really doing. And looking back through my sketchbooks books before I made this video made it really clear to me, and I should have seen this before. But what is actually happening a lot of times in your artwork, and maybe this is holding you back from making some progress as well, because I think it's held me back from learning to draw faces from imagination as well as I want to, is that your brain plays this trick on you where it's really trying to kind of shield you from your frustration and your emotions, and it does this by subtly convincing you to run away from the areas that you need to practice. So there are some things that you are better at and some things that you're not so good at, and your brain kind of subtly convinces you to hide or shy away from drawing and practicing the things that you actually need to practice, those things that you're not that good at. And let me show you some some places I recognize this right here. I was having problem with lips, and my brain was like, all right, let's put a mustache on this guy so we don't have to draw the lips, right? And we have a mustache here. And I went over to the next page, had some more problems with lips, mustache again, and I caught it. I caught it. I was like, oh my gosh, my brain is telling me to hide the lips and trying to escape from having to draw them. And so did some more practice, came down, tried to draw some lips, started to get them, and I was like, oh yeah, it's lips. I'm getting there. Another another instance is right here. So again, in the course, he's teaching a very specific way for us to set up our scenes. And that's with the guiding lines, making sure at least first you have things set up correctly. And this is kind of a lazy way to do it, right? Like, just go ahead and kind of get a basic perspective of where the lines are going and just kind of wing it, right? And I caught myself and I go, nope, nope, nope. You need to practice the strategies you're actually learning, right? This is easy to do and kind of get it right, but you didn't really get it right and you're just kind of having some things off and being okay with it. No, you need to actually practice the things that you're learning. All right? So that is a key number 3, because what I found going back through my old sketchbooks is that, and maybe even some of these, I draw a lot of figures, and so drawing figures are pretty good for me. Like I getting it pretty good well. But what I've done over the years, I've tried it there, but I've left out a lot of facial features over and over again. But I've practiced a lot of the figure itself. And so I can get figures pretty well, right? But I have tended to shy away from putting in those facial features. And now I'm having to put in more effort to try and get them correctly. So it won't be correct up front, and I need to understand that. But I also need to recognize that my brain is going to try and pull me away from doing this. Okay? So you need to look out and watch out for this in your practice as well. Pay attention to your emotions as you're going along and see what your brain is tempting you to not explore and to not practice. And then take some time to practice it and get better at it. Okay, so what are the takeaways here from this video? One, hey, you are normally not seeing the full picture in many of the YouTube videos. And so what they do in their videos may not work for you. It may take you considerably longer. And that's because it probably took the artist considerably longer as well when you take into consideration their entire history of drawing. It takes longer. Okay, so don't let that stress you out. Don't let that get you frustrated. That's taking you long. Point number two, just because you were able to do it once doesn't mean you've actually learned it or understood it. It's when you can do it consistently. So continue practicing, celebrate your wins, yes, do the things that you like, yes, but once you get it right once, don't get too excited that, oh, this is it, I have arrived now, and don't get too frustrated when you still struggle with a similar thing later on. Because, again, once you did it once doesn't mean that you have perfected it, right? And the third thing is you have to do the thing that you're struggling with. And that includes doing the projects, the type of projects, the type of art that you want to do eventually. Um, it includes doing the things that you're struggling with. Make sure that you are not letting your brain kind of psych you out and kind of hide and cover up your problem areas. If you know those areas that you're running away from are things that you want to do and want to incorporate into your art, take the time and push yourself to actually practice them and get them done. So what I want you to know is that everyone fails, everyone struggles in their own way, and you don't see it all the time. And most of the time, there are a lot of people out there getting frustrated. You may be getting frustrated because you believe that this is something new, this is something unique, but it is not. We are all going through this. So this is a art struggle that I can guarantee you is not unique to you. You are not special in this sense, and you will struggle. You will feel it. The path of being frustrated in art and art learning is well trodden, and you will fail at times. You will fall down, but get yourself up, brush yourself off, and keep climbing. And I hope that one day through all of this and focusing on the path that gives you the most enjoyment will keep you going, and that one day we'll see you at the top.